Hey, greetings everybody. It is GleeCon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft coming at you. On our last episode, we looked at the Seasons of War video. This was the CGI intro video for World of Warcraft Classic, and it exposed you to the fact that the factions were fighting again, as we've been leading up in our build-up lore. And it gave you an insight, or just a little sneak peek, rather, into some classes and races that'll be available. So we've also been reading the World of Warcraft role-playing game as like a side mission here for ourselves, and we're going to finish up the first chapter of which is Northern Kalimdor by looking at Winterspring. So stay a while and listen to that. Again, I want to apologize for the bad video quality right now, and the camera that will most likely die in the next few seconds. I ordered a replacement yesterday, but we probably have another day to 2 days tops where we will be out of videos. Sorry. But I want to really get to, while I'm on a lull from work, I want to be able to get to as close as we can to World of Warcraft. So I'm going to push on through despite the lack of good video quality. It's just my face anyway. Hands down the least important part of the show. The most important part is seeing the content in front of you. There goes the camera. And getting to hear, me read it if nothing else. That way you can hands-free listen to it in your car or whatever. It's like a book on tape for some of the things that might not have audio versions. All right, so if we look at Winterspring, the capital is Everlook. It's relatively small. We know that's a goblin town, and the population of Winterspring is actually a good split between mostly Night Elf. That's but it's still not even above 50%. A lot of goblins, wildkin, blue dragonflight, and then just random stuff. Winterspring is a frozen land, and the snows remind me of home. While most night elves find the land less hospitable than the nearby forests, a number of elves reside there for two main reasons. First, it is in close proximity to Mount Hyjal, and second, its mysterious hot springs may be connected to demon activity. Winterspring's perpetual cold is natural enough. Winterspring is the closest area to Mount Hyjal's summit. People and culture. Only 3 major humanoid settlements exist here: the Night Elf village of Starfall, and more interestingly, the goblin town of Everlook. The third is Mazthril, a home of Kalimdor's blue dragonflight. I didn't remember all this dragonflight action way back in Classic, but I guess I should. I remember that there were the main dragons that you fought like as world bosses, but yeah. I mean, I guess all the black little baby dragons in the swamp, so yes and no. Geography. Winterspring lies to the east of Fellwood and Moonglade and to the northeast of Hyjal's summit. The easiest access to any of those locations on foot is through the caves of the Timbermaw Furbolgs, although Everlook offers flying mounts that travel to Fellwood or Moonglade for a price. Everlook is located on the far east side of Winterspring near the center, and Starfall Village is slightly to the northwest. Several creatures live in the icy terrain, such as chimeras, polar bears, and the rare and legendary frost saber cats. Almost all of the animals here are vicious and dangerous predators, and this is kind of like an endgame zone. It's pretty hard to get to. It's higher level compared to the rest. Hidden Grove, located in the north. Hidden Grove is a sacred site revered by Night Elf druids and protected by fierce wildkin. And we have a picture of what looks like a Furbolg, one of the Winterspring Furbolgs, because they're the other main tribe, and that's the other way you can get rep with the Furbolgs, and probably a blue dragonflight person, dragon, draconid, whatever they're called. Lake Kelthoril. Once the site of a highborn city, Kelthoril was reduced to a lake in the Sundering and subsequently froze over in the following years. Many of the city's pillars are partially above the waterline, but much of the city is submerged and encased in ice. Kelthoril is now the largest body of water in Winterspring, and the ghosts of the highborn that died there haunt the lake. Jaren, a fellow in Starfall, told me something of the lake. And that's still there in one of the little quest chapters, at least post-Cataclysm is there. Having to do some missions for that guy where you deal with the ghosts. Okay, Malifos Darkhammer's catalog. Exotic goods from the Thorium Brotherhood. Note, materials must be provided. The material requirements for each product are listed here for your convenience. Leggings of Arcana. And they're just showing what you need if you wanted to buy these things. 30,000 gold pieces, 1 pristine hide of the beast, 5 Frostwhisper embalming fluids, 5 Arcanite bars, 5 frayed abomination stitchings. I wonder if these, I don't know if you can still buy things for those kind of prices. I don't think so. There's also the breastplate of bloodthirst, cap of the scarlet savant, and fiery plate gauntlets. I don't know if there used to be end game gear that you could buy in Winterspring. Sites and settlements. Caverns of Maztharil. These are caves with a lot of people in them. Maztharil is the home of the Blue Dragonflight on Kalimdor. The Blue Dragon spawned General Koboltan, Koboltan, Koboltan guards it, and the Blue Dragon matron Hala oversees it. For more information on the Blue Dragonflight, see Chapter 6, Civilizations. Okay. Everlook is the only major goblin outpost in northern Kalimdor, and it serves several purposes. First, it serves as the base of operations for goblin thorium and arcanite miners, since Winterspring has some of the few untapped veins of those materials on the continent. Second, it serves as a center of trade between the Alliance and the Horde. While Everlook is hardly as safe as Moonglade, generally the Alliance and the Horde treat each other fairly well there. Additionally, Everlook is a frequent stop-off and resupply point for the faithful who make the pilgrimage through Winterspring to Hyjal Summit. The town is also the home of the Thorium Brotherhood, a group of self-righteous Dark Irons who think they are the best smiths in existence. Led by Malifus Darkhammer, the Brotherhood sells their thorium goods for ridiculous amounts of gold. I was tempted to show them what a real smith and a real dwarf could make, but I decided it was a waste of my time to even pay attention to them. I suggest others do the same. I've attached a catalog of the garbage Malifus tries to sell here. Even a novice would know that his prices and the wares he offers in the first place are simply ridiculous. Yeah, 30,000 gold pieces for leggings. I wouldn't pay that even now, and gold is plentiful. Not for some vendor leggings. Okay, let's read about General Koboltan, a 5th level mage, 3rd level warrior. So he's not that crazy. He's an 8th level character. The Blue Dragon Spawn is... This Blue Dragon Spawn is a majestic figure, his massive frame covered from head to clawed feet in shining mithril scale armor dotted with glowing blue runes. The great sword he carries resembles a jagged shard of ice, and his flowing white and blue cloak a rift of snow. General Koboltan is a proud warrior as well as a cunning tactician and kind-hearted soul. His goal is to eradicate the black dragonflight from the world, but for now he settles for using his ever-growing army of blue dragons and blue dragon spawn to protect those who require shelter from the evil dragons. He is one of the few dragon spawn intelligent and diplomatic enough that rather than serving a dragon as most do, he is a leader for the Blue Dragonflight. Koboltan works closely with the Blue Dragon matron Hala, and together they plan to strike against Onyxia in Dustwallow Marsh. In combat, Koboltan is usually in a commanding role, and he uses his spells to wear down enemies from a distance, typically beginning with his lowest level spells to test his enemies' defenses. If participating in a battle between two large groups, he finds a good place to cast Blizzard. If forced into single combat, he keeps his distance long enough to use Frostbolt and Frost Nova to slow his enemy, then protective spells such as Mana Shield and Protection from Evil before entering melee. And as you can see, he is more of a mage than a warrior, but pretty fair split. Okay, there's also Frostsaber Rock. The upper reaches of Winterspring are home to the roaming Frostsaber cats, revered by the Night Elves. It is said that if a wandering Night Elf warrior is fortunate enough to gaze upon Shai-Rotan, the greatest of all Frostsabers, that warrior will be blessed for the rest of his days. Frostsaber Rock itself is a small cave. The inside is not used by the cats, but rather by hopeful trainers. The Frostsabers roam near the top of the rock, and trainers encamp there while attempting to convince the mighty beasts to serve as their companions. That actually touches on a few things. There is a hunter camp quest there, like a Nessingwary-esque type of thing, and I believe Shai-Rotan is one of the involved in that somehow, maybe as the pinnacle of the Frostsaber hunting. This is also where, back in the day, you could get one of the hardest to get mounts, and that was by, I don't remember, I feel like it was a pretty decent amount of time. It might have been as much as like 30 days, where you had to do it daily with this Frostsaber kitten and raise it. It's more than a week for sure. I think I can't remember exactly how. I have it, and it took a long time. Now it's a feat of strength. I think I don't think you actually get the achieved for it. Like you get an achieved, but it's not worth points. I do have that mount, and I did go through that, but I do remember it was like a pain in the butt, and I had to keep going to Winterspring for what felt like months. So I don't remember how long it was. It might have just been a couple weeks, but I'm leaning towards 30 days. Starfall Village is a night elf village located in northwestern Winterspring. I was pleased to encounter a fellow member of the Explorers League, Jaren Stoneshaper, in Starfall Village. Jaren was equally glad to see another dwarf, apparently a rarity in these parts, and he explained his work to me over a pint of fine ale. I'd spent some time talking to the Night Elves in Starfall, and they were kind enough to let me rest in the village for a few days. I found that most of the Night Elves at Starfall were there to observe the wildkin nearby, which some believed are tied to a loon. Winterfall Village. This is the home of the Winterfall Furbolgs, a clan that is now completely corrupted. The Timbermalls sought to help their corrupted cousins here to no avail, and now brace themselves for the possibility of having to go to battle with their own kind. And I think there is some rep that you can do by getting the beads of those Furbolgs or something. History. The ancient ruins in Winterspring are evidence of the scars left by the Sundering. Once hinterlands, the entire eastern expanse was ripped away during the Sundering, leaving a sprawling coastline. It was also here in Winterspring long ago that dragons took up residence to watch over the neighboring Hydril and the nearby World Tree. The blue dragonflight keeps its vigil here, whereas most of the other dragonflights have moved to the base of the World Tree or other locations. The recent success of Everlook has brought more adventurers into Winterspring, which the natives hope will aid them in defeating the threat of the demons at Dark Whisper Gorge. And I do think on one of the loading screen maps on Warcraft 3, you can actually see Winterspring and maybe even Everlook listed on it. Adventures. Home of dragons, goblins, and filthy dark irons. There's a lot to be done in this frozen tundra. This is an adventure hook. It's called Diplomatic Prophet. The goblins of Everlook discover a new mine to the south of their city, not far from the dragon caves of Mazrathil. This mine is valuable due to a large amount of arcanite within it, but thus far it proves inaccessible. While not part of the Blue Dragon's cave complex, the dragons are territorial. If the PCs can find a way to convince the Blue Dragonflight to allow the goblins access to the mine, the goblins reward them with a share of the money made from the mine or some of the arcanite. All right, so we've covered all of Northern Kalimdor. The next chapter we will read, starting the next time we do an episode on these, will be Central Kalimdor. It seemed like a lot of what we just read was heavily Alliance focused, which gives you, I think, hides the fact just how weak of a presence the Alliance has in Kalimdor, and that's because we basically read about the Night Elven lands. These lands are... You see, we've got Durotar, Dustwallow Marsh, the Barrens. Now, Dustwallow Marsh is, I guess, technically kind of Alliance land. This is the Horde capital. This land is technically neutral, but in practice has always been a hotbed of Horde activity because it's right between Thunderbluff and Mulgore, another Horde capital. Stone Talon Mountains, I think, is technically neutral ground. And Desolus is definitely neutral ground, but that's a Centaur land. All the Centaur faction rep building they used to do. You used to have to grind the heck out of that. Now I think you just complete the quest lines and they just give you almost all the rep for both factions. The Maghar, or not Maghar, whatever the two are. There's two. Kolthar and something, I don't know. All right, I appreciate everyone so much for watching and for listening, and I hope that you enjoy these weird little outtakes, these side journeys that we take. I'll see everyone next time for the next episode of Lore of Warcraft, because this one is in the pipe 5x5.